Mr. Ravi Rajiv Upadhyay, Senior Director, Legal Head, Ameriprise Financial Inc. Sir has 15 plus years of experience in shared services. He brings expertise in procurement, intellectual property, privacy, and corporate law. Then we have Madam Shobana Iyer, founder, Swan Chambers, UK. Madam is a legal barrister specializing in commercial and corporate law, navigating complexities in technology and data protection. Then we have Madam Madhu Rewari, partner Anand and Anand, a trademark expert. She has represented leading companies in IP matters, specializing in trademark prosecution. Then we have Mr. Rajeshri Hariharan, founder, Rajeshwari and Associates. So sail with us. It's not just a session, it's a call to action for brands and creative works in the spirit of innovate, protect, scale. Thank you. Over to moderator, sir.
Thank you. So who all know about NFTs? Any basic idea? Anyone here? तो सवाल ही नहीं आएंगे फिर.
Basic idea is non-fungible tokens.
Right. Anything more on that? See, there is no right or wrong answer. We are also in the same dilemma. No experts on NFTs, right? Anybody who owns an NFT here? Ever? Like, no. Right? So such is the foreign concept of NFTs to all of us here. And we'll try to do a good job in just educating all of us at least what NFTs are. Anybody who knows what blockchain is? Basic idea about blockchain? Right? No? If you know, raise your hand, answer. Okay. At least you know the negative publicity that NFTs have got. What is that? Are NFTs, yeah?
Basically, people say it has no value because it's an intangible product which doesn't have a resale value at this current point.
Yeah.
We are investing in an object which has no decided value.
Absolutely right. That's how the majority thinks. I agree, broadly. You all agree? No. No. Okay. So let me just give you a quick sense, right? Commercially, NFTs, when they started during the pandemic era, it boomed to a level that billion-dollar transactions were happening around NFTs. Even today, and I'm not talking about secondary sales, which means resale of whatever I already have minted. I'm talking about new NFTs getting generated and new NFTs getting sold. The market globally on everyday basis is $1 million US. So yes, it's not a phenomena doing as good as it was doing before, but it's not died completely. And there are reasons. I'll tell you very quickly before we move to the core topic. NFTs are based on blockchains. Blockchains have a very core principle. They weed out the intermediary between a transaction, right? Just think about it. Today, when you pay your credit card bill, you go to Cred, you tell Cred saying, this is my bill, pay. What blockchain does is removes Cred and says the transaction will happen between the credit card provider and you directly. That's the core principle of blockchain. On blockchain, NFTs are based. What NFTs claim is, it's an art form that gets generated. There is a valid transaction that happened where I created a painting, Madhu bought that painting, and an NFT got generated for that transfer of digital asset, the painting, correct? Now, tomorrow, the whole question about ownership will never arise. Why? Because the transaction happened between the two of us. There is a trail which is immutable, which means life में एक बार वो transaction generate हो गया, वो जिंदगी भर रहेगा. चाहे 200 साल बाद, generations after generations, Madhu keeps passing saying, बेटा ये painting मैंने खरीदी थी, आज छठी generation में चल रही. But the first transaction will still be existing. Are we clear with the basics? Right? Now let me tell you, because it's a foreign subject, not a lot of us understand about it. There are a lot of things which are gray area. When things are in gray area, a lot of disputes happen because no two people have a same understanding about it. And I believe in this concept that technology always comes first and then comes the regulations. And this is where all the confusion starts building. So on that note, My question to the two panelists here is on disputes relating to NFTs. There are some interesting aspects to it. I'll first ask Madhu to give us some Indian context to it, and then ask Shobana to give a European or UK context. Over to you, Madhu.
Thank you, Ravi. I think Ravi has really put the tone of today's discussion at a very lighter note, I would say, because everybody was quite scared about talking about NFT in this room and understanding the meaning of NFT and how everybody perceives NFTs as, and what is blockchain technology and how do we talk about them. From an Indian perspective, we don't have too many cases, and too many disputes to talk about. But one of the main cases which has come up before the Delhi High Court was a case involving digital collectibles versus Galactus. This was a case where there was use of the digital player cards, and a case was filed against MPL and Striker for using the name and likeness of the players, the cricketers. Now, as we all know, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room also do play fantasy, sports. And while using fantasy sports, you do have names of the players, you have images which you use. And there are many times that, a lot of clubs have been formed now. And there are usage in terms of the caricatures, and there could be innovative features which one could have used for those cricketers. There could be names which could have been used. You could have your own names, on those fantasy clubs. Now, the dispute in question was that whether the usage of those names, the caricatures, whether that amounted to any violation of intellectual property rights which was owned by Rario. So the court here held that there was no violation, while this matter is still pending before the division bench. But in this case, there was a discussion which involved whether there was any violation of publicity versus the personality rights. Now, the information such as names of the cricketers was already available in the public domain. So that was one of the reasoning which the court had given while passing the order, that because the names which are being used by a lot of fantasy clubs, these names are there already in the public domain. So there cannot be any exclusivity as such, and there is a freedom of speech concept which is there under our constitution. And looking at that, there is no violation as such which has happened. And going with that, there was also a discussion on what would amount to a violation in terms of a personality right. We've got several cases recently also from Delhi High Court where the names of celebrities have been protected by the courts. In such cases, yes, there was an exclusivity of the celebrities in terms of their personality. And yes, those were the cases where there was an infringement and injunction was granted. But in this matter, when NFT cards were being traded and digital player cards were being traded, there was no violation because such names which are publicly available cannot be considered to be a violation of intellectual property rights. So this was one of the only cases that we have right now in the NFT space in India. And I'm sure that we'll have many more disputes coming our way with the way the NFT market is growing right now, and with the way the technology is growing right now, and a lot of companies coming into the same space.
Okay, who all know Mohammad Siraj? Mohammad Siraj भी सब इतने लोगों को पता है, सबको पता है. All right, let's talk about Mohammad Siraj, right? Mohammad Siraj was one of the plaintiffs in this case, right? Case की core technology was NFT, but it had very little to do with NFTs, right? In terms of what the case was all about. The case was that Mohammad Siraj ka photo, Mohammad Siraj se related information, and everything in his name was commercially being traded in a fantasy game environment. Surprisingly, the court said those trades are happening in a covered environment, an environment of gaming, and the information that is being utilized, it's available on ClickBuzz also, it's available everywhere. Because an ex-company, which was one of the plaintiffs as well, they decide to commercialize the whole activity of gaming cards, right? Saying here is a card of Mohammad Siraj, here is an NFT, go ahead and buy it. And that commercial avenues were getting restricted due to this, defendant utilizing gaming, player cards into his, or into their, ecosystem of gaming. The whole commercial aspect of plaintiff was getting impacted, right? And the court said, so be it, because the information that is getting utilized, you today search on Google Mohammad Siraj, the same information comes on 10,000 pages, if not more, right? And that's how the court, the single bench court, quashed it. But today the matter is pending against a bench.
Division bench.
Division
Still
bench.
pending before the division bench.
So it's pending. So one interesting dispute about NFTs. Before we go to the brand aspect and ask Sugandha? Sugandh, right, towards my left, we'll quickly check on what the European disputes are there, if there are any, about NFTs. Over to you, Shobana.
Thank you, Ravi. You can all hear me? Yes. Great. Before I do that, I think I'd just like to mention, I know that it was mentioned that, oh, NFTs are nothing, they're nowhere. And I think this is something that I remember one of my chair last year when I was doing the same kind of conference on NFTs and crypto assets in Cyprus. When I asked anybody, does anybody know what a crypto asset was? And the question was that, oh, it's just there for fraud and money laundering. I think that's a problem when you have something that's new and vulnerable that is coming into the market. You will always find bad actors getting into it, trying to cause some kind of fraud. But if you look at what the authentic, real reason for NFTs are in the first place, you will find that there are actually good causes. And if you look at the crime report by Chain Analysis, you can download that if you just do a Google search on Chain Analysis crime report for 2023, you will find that actually in 2022, it dropped to about 1% of the transactions. There were more transactions on crypto transactions, of which it's, the fraud element of it has dropped, mainly because as the technology develops and we learn about the bad actors, we are able to also deal with those bad actors. But NFTs actually are unique digital assets and which have been cryptographically put on the blockchain, and they can serve for numerous different purposes. And this is why things can get complicated, because it's not just about the different forms of non-fungible tokens that you can have, but also the different use cases that you can have. So there are ever-changing number of famous and rather infamous NFT matters that are coming. So it all started off, I think, the boom in around in 2021 with the Beeble's Everyday artwork that was sold. The first 5,000 days or whatever made headlines in February 2021 when it sold for something like $69 million. That sort of demonstrated the kind of potential, and then everybody was sort of like minting out NFTs here, right, everywhere, without even considering what they were really doing it for. And around the same time, a different sort of NFT was gaining the headlines, a kind of a cultural movement. And I think people would have heard about the NFT of Jack Dorsey's first tweet, just setting up my Twitter, which he put through, and that was sold for around 2.9 million. But by mid-2022, its resale value had dropped to as low as 5 figures. So you can see the volatile part in these NFTs. So this is why I think at the end of the day, one looks at anything to see what is the actual potential value of this. And I think this works on the art side as well. So in terms of in the UK, particularly, I would say I just want to mention about 2 main cases with regard to specifically with NFTs. One is with regard to the fact that it was the first case that mentions, that clarifies that NFTs can be capable of considered to be property as such. the UK Judicial Task Force wrote a statement, a legal statement on crypto assets in April 2021, saying that crypto assets are capable of becoming property, and this was clarified in the case of Osborne versus Persons Unknown and Ozone Networks, which of course is OpenSea. And this is where the claimant brought proceedings against the defendants who were persons unknown because we couldn't identify them, who had transferred without her consent 2 NFTs from her digital wallet with OpenSea and a peer-to-peer NFT marketplace. So the NFTs had been gifted to Miss Osborne as part of a collection of digital portraits contained by a company called Boss Beauties Inc. And what Ms. Osborne, the claimant, or as you could still call it, the plaintiff here, managed to provide is to get an interim proprietary injunction to freeze the NFTs until the end of the proceedings as such, and what was known as a banker's trust order. That's mainly a disclosure order requiring OpenSea to provide the information of where these from what they know about who are the owners of those keys that are kept in place. So disclosure can be done through a banker's trust order. I don't want to get too technical in that. I know some of you might know about the English proceedings where we go for disclosure under Norwich Pharmacol orders, but you can't really use the Norwich Pharmacol order for disclosure in these sort of crypto asset cases. The problem is because you can't serve a Norwich Pharmacol order out of the jurisdiction. So technically you have to draft the application as a banker's trust order. That's compelling the operators to disclose that. And I think the other case that I would like to mention with regard to NFTs is actually that, although it's been subject of litigation, I think it's the view that you can actually serve orders now or serve proceedings by way of NFT as well. So a DLO versus Persons Unknown, when the English court held that you can serve proceedings could be affected by NFTs, and this was the first English case to mention about serving proceedings for the misappropriation of around 2 million cryptocurrencies. And I think it follows a New York case as well in that way. Okay.
Now let me quickly tell you about excellent use of NFTs, and then we'll move to Sugandh. So I did my MBA from SP Jain, and last year I received an email from them saying, here is a blockchain version of your degree. Wherever you want to utilize, just go ahead and give it to the concerned parties, and they'll be able to authenticate just by scanning this QR code. I did it myself. It actually goes to a blockchain. It verifies the authenticity of my degree awarded from the institute. Just imagine, if you guys have ever changed jobs, there's a whole procedure of BGVs. The background verification vendors essentially today physically either go to your universities and institutes to verify saying ABC studied here and got the degree, that is what the claim is, or call, mail, and many a times big universities don't respond to such emails, and that is the trouble. Imagine the usage of blockchain / NFTs into this kind of a model. And can you change anything? Because the technology is decentralized, nobody has control over editing anything, that it's impossible to challenge the authenticity of that data set. In this case, it being my degree. First-hand example. And there is no value to it. Yes, there may be no value to NFTs. But if you've heard this concept of Web 3.0, removing intermediaries, having direct transactions between two parties, that's going to be the world moving forward. If not today, at least in the next 5 years. Giving certain examples, moving to Sugandh to talk about usage of NFTs from a branding perspective. Let's take her opinion.
Thank you. First of all, I would really appreciate all the cases that both the ma'ams shared. And this must seem like, okay, there are a lot of problems surrounding NFTs, but everything comes with a caveat. does not mean we should not utilize everything to the max. This is where NFTs come for branding. Now, NFTs is, as Sir very rightly mentioned, it's a part of Web 3.0. Now, Web 3.0 basically consists of your NFTs, your metaverse, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, everything will be there. So that, you know, the social media that you're using today will become conventional, it will become old. And all Web 0.3, one, it removes your intermediaries. Secondly, it brings a person to brand connection. Like you're directly connected to the brand. It wants to give that experience digitally. So one thing, NFT will be seen as an extension of your basically social media platform. Nothing special about it. You have to adapt with the times. So, but how will you utilize these NFTs? Now, especially if you see the foremost brands coming forward with the use of NFTs are luxury brands. Because at the back of the purchaser's mind is always that I am buying luxury, I am buying a piece of art, or I'm buying something which is of high value. So this is where NFTs come into play. Now they can be used for two perspectives. One is of course branding. Now I can, let's say I am a big company like Prada or Givenchy, and I want to popularize a collection I'm going to sell. So what I do is I can have collectible NFTs. Like these are certain tokens which I can create that will be, you can collect, and of course, since it's going to be limited number, perhaps, you know, as we say that it's a limited edition, it will grow in value. In the similar manner, you can have NFTs in that way, and this has actually worked for brands. They're seen as collectible items. Secondly, you can also use it as a utility NFT. Like you all are very well aware of royalty systems, you know, royalty systems, loyalty program, that if you keep on purchasing with me for the last 10 years, I'm going to give you this, a bag every year, a trip over there. And these are actually working for brands. So rather than having your basic loyalty programs, what they're shifting to is NFTs. This is actually dually important and beneficial for companies. I'll give you the example of Budweiser. So what Budweiser did was it launched a couple of NFTs, a limited edition NFT under its heritage brand. Then what it did was, whoever has purchased these NFTs, we are giving you a free pass, come to our factories, take a tour, have all the free beer you want. So one, you are generating income through these NFTs, you're creating buzz in the market, and you're actually enhancing the consumer experience. And since NFTs are still scarce, they're not like every other giveaway on Instagram or whatever. They're still seen as this, okay, it's a top-notch thing, it's something class apart, it's something new and original. So you should definitely jump on the bandwagon as soon as possible if you're a brand. Now this is from a branding and marketing tool perspective. Second thing I also want to say is that NFTs, since they're linked to the blockchain, right? And as Sir mentioned, that blockchains are immutable, impenetrable, and he used the word decentralized. I would like to just focus on the word decentralized. If anyone doesn't know, decentralized basically means that the entire blockchain does not exist on one central computer. It exists on multiple computers, so that if there is sought to be made a change in one system, it will immediately cite that there is some problem being created or some information is being changed. So this will actually curb any non-sanctioned change in information. Actually, you cannot change information once it has been created. So this blockchain technology by way of NFTs. So NFTs is basically two things. It is a digital asset that is embedded into the blockchain. And the second perspective is the information in that blockchain. So in that NFT, so it can be in the way of an information also, and as put in the form of artwork also. So rather than going for artwork, you can also go for information and authenticity proving. So a lot of luxury brands, again, they're using it like, let's say you are ordering some special French watch. Now you know it's one of a kind. You want to be sure about its provenance. So rather than just giving you a basic certificate that this has come from France, it's handmade, it's amazing, you will get an NFT where you can actually see from the point of conception that this is when it was created, this is when the dial was put, this is the authority. Because everything is, again, I'm specifying immutable. It will help you prove your provenance, and as Sir has mentioned clearly that it will give you an ownership certificate, immutable. Yeah, continue. Okay, just last. So this will also help in authentication process. Like you get a product, you scan your QR code, you get an NFT, and you can see the entire chain that it has come from this and this company. And this is especially the biggest tool against counterfeiters. Because we all know that counterfeiters are smart by half. They will do whatever they want and they will adapt with the times. So that is why NFTs are the next new prevention wall against such counterfeiters. So I think other people can specify further on these points also.
So let me give a scenario, and then I'll ask that question to you guys. If nobody can answer, then we'll go to our experts here. Okay? Suppose I create a painting, right? And here is the painting. It's an NFT, and I decide to put it on sale, right? And then, again, Madhu simply loves the paintings that I create, so she again buys my painting. So she bought the painting as an NFT. Now you go, all are legal experts using your common sense as well. Anybody who would like to opine that what just happened? Was the painting sold, or the right of that painting as a creation also got sold? Anybody who would like to answer here?
The right also has been included.
Yeah, can the mic be passed? Yeah.
So I would like to say the right of the painting, the ownership of the painting has also been included in the sale.
Who all feel just the painting got sold? Now, the painting got sold to Madhu. That painting became a huge hit. Okay? What I decide as a creator, right? मैं उसके mugs बनवाऊंगा, मैं उसकी t-shirt बनवाऊंगा, मैं एक और वैसी painting बनाऊंगा, and I want to sell it again. Can Madhu, who purchased my painting before, the original work, as an NFT, stop me from, merchandising my creation? Any thoughts?
Yes, she can stop.
Anybody who disagrees? Yeah. So let's give the mic to them. First to someone who agrees, and then second to someone who disagrees.
See, when you sold the painting, you have sold that particular material, not your creation. The creation still lies with you.
So can you give your introduction?
I am Dr. Reddy, Senior Advocate.
Dr. Reddy. Who all agree with Dr. Reddy? Dr. Reddy, very few hands are agreeing with you.
It's all right. I'm right.
Let's go to somebody who says that the creation right also got sold.
Yeah. Even the creation right has also been sold. So a person who buys the NFT has the ownership right over the creation of the product, also the other monetary resources which are arising from that.
There were many hands. Anybody else who would like to? Yes, sir.
Right to creation has a value, not the painting.
Yeah, but then I sold the NFT to Madhu as my painting.
And
so did I sell my creation as well?
Right to creation has a value. That's why she has bought.
Okay. But what about the transaction that happened? Yes, sir.
Sir, I think with the limited knowledge which you have shared, the information got, means published, means it was created by you and it was sold to Madhu, right? So the creation is shown there that you have made it and it was sold to Madhu. So that kind of, means information that you were the creator, that will remain, although the NFT was sold to Madhu. So that will remain, but you will be the creator. That information will be there in the blockchain.
Right. So I am the creator. Then do I have the right to recreate it, to merchandise it, to put it on T-shirts, to put it on mugs, to say, it's the same thing that Madhu bought, which became $1 million, but I am the creator. I am, reutilizing it. Is it legally allowed once I've sold it?
May I throw some more light
Yeah.
on this? See, when I got a creation,
Yeah.
I create something in material.
Yeah.
I sold the material part of it.
Yeah.
But creation is mine.
Right.
That idea is mine. It should be with me. I don't know what is the monetary benefit and not, but this is what I feel is a strong law.
Anybody has thoughts? Yeah, please. Yes, sir.
So basically, the right in that NFT
Yeah.
is only being transferred in this case.
Okay.
And you retain the right to further reproduce it in different platforms and media, and then commercialize that.
Your name, sir?
My name is Shalin Radu. I am from Forbes Marshall.
Okay. So the two gentlemen here say the right of creation still remains with me. Madhu only owns the NFT. Who will agree with them? Still not a lot of hands. All right. So will anybody else who wants to share anything before we go to the experts? Okay, sir, please.
I just want to bring in the perspective of, physical transaction. I mean, there's a physical painting. I just want to go into that angle. If a painter sells it to a person X who becomes the owner, then generally, the rule of thumb is that the ownership of the painting is with the new owner. And so is the right of monetizing and commercializing it. So if you apply the same analogy, okay, authorship would be with the creator of the NFT, but the holder of the NFT would have the underlying commercial rights.
Final 5 seconds for any opinion here before we go to the experts. Anyone? No? All right.
Provided if there any specific contract or document to say that you relinquish your rights.
I think Dr. Reddy is not divulging. He has dealt with NFT license and agreements. He's not coming out clear because he's so confident of his answer. But let's go to Madhu here and let's see what she has to say.
So to answer that question, I'll give you another example of an actual case. So there was a case where Spice DAO, there was a manuscript which was written, and the manuscript in respect of a book, Dune, was purchased by him. And when the book was purchased, he had the idea that, he will make a movie out of it. And the manuscript was created, and thereafter he thought that he will monetize it and he will also create a movie out of it. But the moment he thought of creating a movie out of it, he got to know that the underlying rights in the work, in the manuscript, were actually sold by the creator to another media house. So similarly, right now, when Ravi spoke about selling the NFT in the painting to me, the underlying work in the painting was not transferred to me. So as some of us have correctly said that the underlying work in the painting, the copyright owner has not transferred the underlying work in the painting to me, so I cannot actually have the bundle of rights a copyright has. So as we all know that a copyright has a bundle of rights, which means that you have the right to copy, reproduce, publish, print, and many other things which can be done in the form of a copyright that you have. So what happens in a NFT situation is that the rights between the parties have to be clearly defined in a contract. And what happens in such contracts for NFTs is smart contracts. Now, smart contracts are contracts which may bind the parties depending upon the kind of contracts that they have, depending upon the kind of conditions, the terms that have been defined between the parties. It may be binding, it may not be enforceable. It depends upon the kind of criteria which have been defined under our Indian Contract Act along with our IT Act. It depends upon whether the parties have actually been able to abide with the terms of the contract or not to see whether there's enforceability. Now, what happens in smart contracts is that, between A and B, if there is a contract which has happened, there are set terms and conditions which are defined. The moment there is an execution of one of the terms, let's say today we are betting on a game and you say that A team is going to win and, I feel that B team is going to win. And the moment there is an outside information to the code that yes, B team has won, the contract will be automatically enforceable. Executable, not enforceable. So the contract is automatically executed. A smart contract is such. So therefore, in a scenario, in case where smart contract is automatically enforceable, if an outside condition happens, we need to see what is the kind of enforceability that may have in India. We don't have case laws right now in terms of how smart contracts have been decided in terms of looking at the enforceability. But yes, smart contracts are a way in which, you know, one looks at the conditions and terms based upon which the rights of the parties are defined and based upon what kind of work. So as a seller, it is a due diligence which you may want to do at your end to see what kind of rights are being transferred. At the end of the day, because you know what information is available with you is only of the seller. As a buyer, if you're not aware about who is the actual owner and who is the actual creator of the work, it might be difficult for you to see whether you are getting legitimate rights or not. Whether actually the seller, what he's selling it to you, whether he himself has those rights or not. So therefore, in a smart contract to be enforceable, to see whether there could be a condition which is imposed, one has to, you know, look at. Yeah.
30
Mr.
seconds.
Ravi, may I give you one more example? I don't know, maybe wrong.
She's staring me for the
all
last
right,
5
it's all
minutes.
right. Just this question only.
Yeah.
Ravi Verma paintings and all. Even if it is sold, even people, still people, there is moral rights. In copyright, we call it as a moral rights, sometimes negative rights also. Like M.F. Hussain paintings or Geeta Anjali book. Yeah. These are all the books, the life expired, but still people recognize that as a moral rights. That's what I...
So 30 seconds to each and we'll wrap up. 90 सेकंड होता है टोटल. सो लेट मी टेल यू, बहुत लोगों को लग रहा होगा कि यार फिर NFT का वैल्यू क्या रह गया, मैं तो फिर भी क्रिएट कर रहा हूँ. सो आई टेल यू द डिफरेंस, राइट? द डिफरेंस इज my painting that got created, the original work, the NFT to that in the whole world is with Madhu. That's the original work and it's been authenticated and it's been provided to Madhu. The copying of it, reusability of it, creation of it again and merchandising as an effort is a right that is there with the creator. If Madhu as a buyer is educated, she will make sure that there's a separate commercial agreement to ensure that transfer of IP rights also happens, so that I also lose my right of creating the same piece of art again and again for my own usage, right? I'll also tell you one more thing. If Madhu bought the painting from me at X value, and then the painting got resold to 7 to 8 different households or commercial houses, right? NFTs also have a provision to track royalties. And the royalty can come to me or to my subsequent generations. That's the power of having something like an NFT. Those are my 30 seconds. We'll go to Shobana and then to Sugani.
I just want to quickly add as well, another common dilemma that happens, many of the NFTs, is that the creator is the one who minted the NFT, may not be the person who actually owns the copyright. So maybe you did the painting, Ravi, but actually you got a controller to actually mint out the NFT for you. So you got that other issue as well about who actually owns the NFT. But apart from all those kind of dilemmas, as I said, NFTs, depending on what kind of NFT there is, there's kind of variable forms. You can have music, video, and of course, you know, in music, there are different forms of IP rights, I mean, multiple IP rights. So you've got those kind of issues to be added on to that. In addition to just the smart contracts alone, you think about each of these little elements which can provide problems, but if they're put properly and you address those challenges, you can actually have a much more effective and fair kind of system, particularly when it comes to sharing and getting proper reward for artists and musicians, and keeping brand royalty within organizations and brands. So.
Yeah, I'll just summarize a little bit with regards to smart contracts, as ma'am rightly brought up, and this is especially with respect to artists, independent artists, because this gives you a different avenue for sale of your own artistic works. Now, this is especially important for musicians, artists, or other creators who want to remove the intermediary middleman altogether. And I would like to again mention the tracking of royalty. That becomes one of the biggest, that's one of the biggest drawbacks of conventional art selling, that you cannot keep track of who the next owner may be, and you cannot get your resale royalties, which is actually a right given to you by the Copyright Act also. But this actually makes this entire process more efficient and trackable, because again, since it's a decentralized blockchain embedded information, it is publicly available. So the artist again is put at a pedestal that you can also track your resale. So that helps the artist in the long term. So I would just like to summarize here and conclude here if anyone has any other points.
I think the other point following on is actually about counterfeiting. So you can actually use these NFTs, especially luxury brands are using it principally to keep the authentication of their luxury brand and avoid counterfeiting as well.
All right, thank you guys. You've been a lovely audience. Thank you very much for having the patience to listen to NFT as a part of us. Thank you.
Thanks to our esteemed panelists for sharing their experience and making this session impactful. I hope that the takeaways from this session will inspire your future endeavors. Now I would request Malti Lakshmi Kumaran Madam from Lakshmi Kumaran and Associates to facilitate the panelists with the memento, please.